I always like birthdays quiet. Just a good steak, maybe a scotch, and nobody lighting anything on fire. Not even candles. But Monica, oh, Monica loved the spectacle. Balloons, banners, photo collages of our journey. She used the word journey, like we were Frodo and Sam crossing Mordor, not two people commuting to Costco and emotionally buffering through Netflix. This year, though, she toned it down. We'd been a little off lately. You know that feeling when the air in your house starts feeling too thick, like the walls are listening? Yeah, that. So when she handed me a small, gift-wrapped box at the end of the evening, I thought maybe this was her version of a white flag. She even smiled. The kind of smile you rehearse in the mirror to see if it still fits. "Happy birthday, babe," she said, pressing the box into my hands like it weighed more than it looked. It wasn't the gift that threw me. It was the envelope inside. Tucked neatly on top of a watch box was a postcard. Cream-colored, gold trim, like something you'd find on a honeymoon nightstand in Santorini. And on it, 6 words that didn't belong in my life. "I love you, Dima. Sorry for everything." I blinked. Once. Twice. She saw it. Her smile cracked, just for a second, like glass underfoot. Her knuckles whitened around her wine glass. "Who's Dima?" I asked. Calm, like I was reading off a menu. She swallowed. "What?" "This card," I said, holding it up. "It says, 'I love you, Dima.' You're not great with nicknames, Monica, so either you're cheating on me or you're mailing postcards to Russian gymnasts in your spare time." Her face turned pale, a kind of white you don't see outside of chalk cliffs or fresh printer paper. I must have, that wasn't supposed to." "Yeah," I said, setting the box down like it was ticking. "That much is clear." The silence that followed was the kind people build funerals around. She looked like a magician who just pulled the wrong rabbit out of the hat. Wrong hat, wrong rabbit, wrong show. I didn't yell, didn't accuse, didn't demand explanations I already knew she wouldn't give. Instead, I reached under the table, pulled out a small box of my own. No ribbon, no tag, just clean cardboard and something inside I'd been saving. I slid it across the table toward her. She blinked, slowly, as if her brain was buffering. "What's this?" I leaned back and smiled. "Return to sender." She didn't open it. Didn't need to. Her eyes gave her away. And that's when I knew. This wasn't just a slip-up. This wasn't a bad week or a flirty coworker. This was the beginning of the unraveling. And me? I wasn't about to fall apart with it. The thing about catching someone in a lie is it never ends at one. That postcard, that was just the welcome mat. The foyer of a much bigger, much uglier house. And as soon as Monica saw my little return to sender package, she knew. Whatever door she'd been sneaking through just slammed shut behind her. She didn't cry. Monica never cried when it mattered. She tried to pivot instead, like it was some sitcom misunderstanding. "It's just a mistake. I was mailing a card for a coworker's going away thing. Dima is short for Dmitri. He's Russian. From accounting. It's not what you think." I nodded slowly. "You're right. It's worse." She flinched. I don't think she expected me to stay that calm. Like maybe if I didn't flip the table or break a wine glass, I didn't really care. She was wrong. I cared plenty. I just cared strategically now. That night, after she went to bed early, I went to work. See, Monica always underestimated me. Thought I was the predictable one. The guy who'd get upset, cool off, and eventually bring flowers like a rebooted version of my former self. What she didn't know is, I'd already seen the signs. That gut feeling everyone talks about, mine had been screaming into a pillow for months. So while she slept upstairs, snoring like guilt never touched her, I cracked open the little encrypted folder I'd been compiling for weeks. Receipts, GPS data, deleted messages recovered from her cloud backup, a few calls made to a friend in IT who owed me after I bailed him out of a microdosing scandal at our company retreat. Turns out, Dima wasn't from accounting. He was from her gym. Or more accurately, his apartment was across the street from her gym. Same complex I'd once driven past without thinking twice, back when I still believed in us. There were texts. Oh, were there texts? "You make me feel alive again. He doesn't see me anymore. One day, maybe I'll stop pretending." That last one stuck with me. Because if Monica was pretending, what was I doing? The next morning, she tried pancakes. Literally. A full spread on the table. Coffee. Orange juice. Bacon. I know she hates cooking because the smell lingers. "Thought I'd do something nice," she said with a smile I'd seen her practice in mirrors. Nice, I echoed, taking a sip of coffee. Like handwriting postcards to other men? She stiffened. Are we really doing this again? Oh, sweetheart, I said, chewing my bacon slowly. We haven't started yet. She tried to distract me with fake normalcy. Chatter about errands, the neighbor's new dog, how the water bill seemed high. But I wasn't listening. Not really. I was watching. Because people show you exactly who they are when they think you're distracted. Later that day, I took a drive. To Dima's building. I didn't knock. Didn't even park. Just sat across the street, sipping a cold soda and watching the door like it owed me answers. And wouldn't you know it, 20 minutes later, there she was. Monica, in her gym clothes. Only, it was her fancy gym clothes. The kind she didn't wear to sweat in. The kind with the matching waistband and that subtle perfume I only smelled when she was nervous. She looked left, looked right, and buzzed in. That was it. Not a misunderstanding. Not a one-time mistake. A routine. And I let her settle into that routine. Because the best traps don't snap shut right away. They wait. There's a moment, right before a thunderstorm hits, when the whole world gets quiet. No birds. No breeze. Just stillness so loud it hums in your bones. That's what the next few days felt like. Monica went about her business like nothing was off, brushing past me in the hallway, texting with her phone angled just slightly out of view, smiling too brightly when I poured my coffee. She thought I was in the dark. What she didn't know? I was already sitting front row, popcorn in hand, watching the final act unfold in real time. That little package I handed her, returned to sender, wasn't just metaphorical. Inside it, tucked beneath some tissue paper and a souvenir she once brought back from our trip to Vancouver, was a GPS tracker. A small one. Black, discreet, magnetic. It wasn't for her car. It was for Dima's. Because I didn't need to know where Monica went. I already knew her patterns. I needed to know where he went after she left. Thursday, 7:11 p.m. Monica said she was going to her book club. The one with the neighbors who only read memoirs about strong women and wine-soaked trauma. Funny thing, the tracker pinged at a gas station 20 minutes south. Then it moved again, past the highway, out toward the Lake District. A quiet Airbnb cabin. I'd been there once. Rented it years ago for our anniversary. She said it was too rustic. Guess rustic grows on you when someone else is lighting the fire. I watched the dots move. I had alerts set up. Every entrance, every exit. A little map of betrayal glowing red on my laptop screen while I watered the plants and microwaved leftovers. I waited. Patient. Controlled. Like a man holding the match just inches from the fuse. Saturday night, Monica came home late. Real late. Hair wet from a shower she didn't take here. Face clean. No makeup. No explanation. She tried to slide into bed quietly, assuming I was asleep. I wasn't. But I didn't move. I just lay there, eyes closed, breathing slow. Letting her believe the lie held. Letting her feel safe. That's the difference between her and me. She lies to escape. I lie to build a case. The next morning, I handed her a birthday invitation. Mine. A little dinner. Close friends. Nothing extravagant. Just a small celebration in the backyard. String lights, good food. A chance to reconnect, I told her. She hesitated, searching my face. I thought we were keeping things simple this year, she asked. I smiled. Oh, we are. Very simple. And just like that, she relaxed. Thought the storm had passed. Thought I was done digging. She didn't know the shovel was already resting against the final layer of dirt. The day of the party came fast. She brought a gift, of course. Wrapped beautifully, like gilt in paper form. Gold bow, crisp corners. She kissed my cheek as she handed it over. Too warm, too staged. This one's special, she whispered. I opened it slowly, with everyone watching. My friends. Her friends. A dozen guests sipping wine, laughing under twinkling lights like nothing in the world was broken. Inside the box, a leather wallet and a small card. Not a birthday card. A postcard. Cream-colored. Gold trim. With 6 words she thought I'd never see again. I love you, Dima. Sorry for everything. Silence. Thick and sudden. I held it up for her to see. Her smile broke in half. Her lips parted. Pale. That wasn't supposed to be in there, she whispered. I nodded. I know. I set the gift down, then reached under the table and handed her mine. No wrapping. Just a plain white envelope. She opened it. Inside was a printed screenshot, her text thread with Dima, the one I'd backed up from her cloud before she changed her password. And on the last page, An RSVP card. Dima had been invited. He wasn't there, of course. I made sure of that. I'd called him a week earlier, told him she'd confessed everything and was begging for a fresh start with me. He backed off instantly, said he didn't sign up for that kind of drama. But I let Monica think he was coming. Let her look over her shoulder all evening. Let her heart race every time someone walked through the gate. And when no one came, I leaned in and said, "Looks like someone returned themselves to sender." Here's a funny thing about birthdays. People think they reveal your age, but really, they reveal your circle. Who shows up? Who pretends? Who lies with cake in their teeth and says, "You look the same as ever." That night, after Monica opened the wrong card in front of the right crowd, she smiled. She smiled like a hostage, tight-lipped, eyes frozen, still trying to calculate her next move. Even while standing in a minefield, she didn't realize she'd been walking through barefoot. "Can we talk?" she said under her breath, that fake little whisper wives use when they want to look like peacemakers in public. I nodded politely and turned to the guests. "Please enjoy the appetizers," I said, with a wink. They go well with awkward silences. Polite chuckles followed. Someone popped a Prosecco cork, like a pistol start to the end of a marriage. We stepped inside. The door clicked shut behind us. She turned on me like a blade unsheathed. "What the hell was that, Logan?" "You tell me," I said, tossing her phone onto the kitchen island. It was already unlocked. I'd spent the morning syncing it to a mirrored tablet in the garage. All her messages, live and streaming. I changed my password. I raised an eyebrow. "I know." A pause. She blinked. "How?" I took a sip from my drink. "You're left-handed. You type your PIN with your right hand, slowly. 5286. I saw it reflected in the microwave 3 weeks ago." Her mouth hung open, not in guilt, in sheer offense, that I'd outsmarted her in a game she thought she controlled. "Dima isn't important," she said, almost too quickly. "It was stupid. I was bored." "Bored," I said, leaning in. "You blew up a marriage for bored? You were bored like a raccoon in a jewelry store. You didn't just cheat. You made it art. You were distant. I was employed. That's not the same thing." She crossed her arms, eyes sharp. "So what now, Logan? You got your moment. What's your big plan? Public shaming? Take a bow and toss me to the wolves?" I smiled. "Oh, sweetheart. That wasn't my moment. That was just confetti." She went still. That sudden kind of still when someone feels the second hand start to tick louder. I walked over to the pantry and pulled out a small envelope. Black. Matte finish. I tossed it on the counter. She looked at it like it was ticking. "What's that?" "Your copy of the postnup. The one you signed 2 years ago when I put my name on that second mortgage." "You're bluffing." "No," I said. "You're projecting." She reached for it, opening it slowly. Inside was a summary of our agreement, plus a notarized copy signed in her own handwriting, and my lawyer's business card, paper clipped to the corner. "But this was just in case," she muttered. "I didn't think." "You didn't," I said, cutting her off. "That's the theme tonight." She slammed the paper down. "What do you want, Logan? You want me gone?" I tilted my head. "I want you to stay." Her brow furrowed. "Why?" she asked, genuinely confused. "Because you're going to help me host another party." She blinked. "Are you serious?" "Oh, deadly," I said. "See, I've spent the last few weeks not just watching your betrayal unfold. I've been using it, channeling it, building something." She shook her head. "What are you talking about?" I pulled out my phone and opened an app. A live stream. There she was, on screen. Monica, caught on camera, whispering in Dima's car, laughing outside that cabin, lying into her phone while sipping wine and lingerie she told me she hated. "Say hello to your new followers," I said. She stared at the screen. "You recorded me?" "No. You recorded you. I just installed the apps you never logged out of. Cloud sync, baby. Better than therapy." She turned ghost white. "You wouldn't." I smiled slowly. "I already did. The footage wasn't public. Not yet. Not unless I hit one button." But I knew she couldn't be sure of that. Not after everything she'd underestimated. "You'll host the next party with me," I said. "Smile? Laugh. Pretend we're the happy couple won last time." "Why?" "Because it's your turn to feel trapped." She scoffed. "What do you get out of that?" "A clean divorce," I said. "Full asset division. I keep the house, the car, the joint account, and your dignity stays off the internet. You get your yoga mat and your memories. That's the deal." "You're insane," she whispered. I leaned in. "No, I'm focused." That night, she returned to the party. Quiet. Civil. She laughed at all the right jokes. Kissed my cheek in the kitchen. Hugged our friends goodbye like she wasn't about to be airbrushed out of my life like a typo. And when the guests were gone, I handed her the final envelope. Plane tickets. One way. To anywhere she wanted. I even offered to drive her to the airport. She stared at them. Then at me. You planned all this? Since the postcard. She looked down, nodded once, and whispered, You're not who I thought you were. I smiled, turning to walk away. And you are exactly who I thought you were. I didn't see her off at the airport. That was the point. I watched from the terminal's parking garage. Engine running, one hand on the wheel, the other gripping the same thermos I used on our first road trip to Sedona. Back then, it held spiced coffee. Now black. Bitter. No cream. No illusions. Monica wheeled her sleek silver suitcase through the automatic doors, head held high, like she was off to some elegant reinvention of herself. And maybe she was. I didn't care. She passed security without a glance back. That stung more than I expected. But then again, she'd always been good at leaving while staying. This was just the first time her feet matched her exit energy. The moment she was gone, I exhaled. Long final. Like I'd just stepped out of a smoky room after 20 years of pretending I liked the ambience. I went home to silence. Not sad silence. Clean silence. The kind that settles into a place once the dust clears and the charlatans leave. Monica's side of the closet was empty, save for one velvet hanger that somehow got left behind. I took it down, stared at it for a beat, then hung my coat on it. Small victories. But I wasn't done yet. Not even close. Because Monica's betrayal wasn't just a detour. It was a map, one that pointed to more than just Dima. And I'm not the kind of guy to stop digging once I hit water. I want the aquifer. So I opened the box. You know the box. Everybody's got one. The one that lives in the back of your closet or under the bed. Labeled with something unassuming like tax stuff or memories. But really it's a time capsule of things we weren't ready to face when we packed it. Ours had lived under the stairs for 15 years. I pulled it out like a surgeon unearthing a long-buried truth. Inside, wedding invites, receipts from our honeymoon in Greece, movie tickets from our first date, a bundle of letters tied with ribbon, Monica's, from before we were married, and at the very bottom, a stack of old Polaroids I didn't recognize. I sat with them like they were a deck of tarot cards. The first few were innocent enough. Her on a beach. A birthday party I barely remembered. Then something caught my eye. Monica, in a hotel room. Not ours. Different curtains. Different carpet. But the timestamp on the back? Dated during a time she swore she was visiting her sister in Boston. Only the Polaroid didn't lie. There was a wine glass, too, actually, and a man's jacket slung over a chair. Not Dima's. Wrong build. Wrong decade. I squinted. I recognized it. Jason Heller. Her ex from college. The one she claimed was toxic and forgettable. Turns out, some toxins linger. I sifted deeper. More evidence. More paper cuts. Emails printed and tucked away. A receipt for a necklace she never wore in front of me. A postcard addressed to M, signed with a simple, smug, always yours, Jay. And that's when I understood. Dima wasn't the first. Probably not the second. Just the sloppiest. This wasn't a detour in our marriage. This was the road. I drove to a quiet diner the next morning. The kind of place that still has laminated menus and a waitress who calls everyone Han. I ordered black coffee and a side of resolve. Then I made 3 phone calls. Call 1, my lawyer. Told him I'd like to make the divorce official, retroactive to the day I found the postcard. He laughed, but promised to check the paperwork. Said I was one of the few clients who sounded relieved mid-divorce. Call 2, a real estate agent. I didn't want the house anymore. Too many ghosts. Too many echoes bouncing off walls she once painted sage green because it was calming. Call 3. Her mother. Yup, I know, low blow. But Margaret had a mouth like a vacuum cleaner. Pulls everything in, spits it back out louder. I gave her the whole story. Polaroids and all. Oh my God, she gasped. She said you were emotionally cold. Did she mention the hotel receipts? Silence. Then a slow. No. Thought so. I didn't do it to hurt her. I did it because sometimes you've got to drop the match in front of the arsonist and say, see? Fire works both ways. The next week, I hosted one final gathering. Smaller than my birthday. No wine. No gifts. Just a few friends. People who mattered. People who'd watched Monica put on her supportive wife, act for years without knowing the curtain hid a rotating cast of backup men. They sat in the living room. I stood by the fireplace, holding a manila envelope. "This isn't revenge," I said. "It's renovation. I'm tearing out the rot." One by one, I handed them sealed copies of Monica's messages. Not out of spite, out of clarity, because truth doesn't sting when it's earned. One friend, Jared, read a few lines and muttered, "She told me you were cheating on her." I just smiled. She also told me she forgot to forward the rent check for our shared office space in 21. I ended up paying double. Jared looked stunned. "Man, I'm sorry." "Don't be," I said. "Just be smarter about who you trust." That night, I burned the Polaroids. Every single one. Not in anger, not in sadness. Just to reclaim the space they took up. The fire cracked and popped, tiny screams of ink and memory curling into ash. I stood there watching them die like tiny lies meeting sunlight for the first time. By midnight, they were gone. And in their place? Silence again. But this time, it didn't feel empty. It felt earned. You ever notice how in crime shows, it's never the first suspect? That's how I felt about Dima. Sure, he was the one I caught. The one with the postcard. The one Monica whispered sweet nothings to while I was out fixing the fence or buying her gluten-free cereal. But something about him never sat right. Too clean. Too convenient. Like a fall guy with gym memberships and dumbbells for brains. So I dug deeper. I started with the only thing I had. A name and an address scribbled on a return label Monica had carelessly tossed in the kitchen trash weeks earlier. Most people ignore their spouse's trash. I sifted through it like it was the Library of Congress. Turns out Dima Petrov wasn't just a fitness instructor. He was a freelance wellness consultant. I know, sounds like someone who sells sage bundles and vitamin powders on Instagram. But the guy had a side hustle I hadn't expected. Personal transformation retreats. Or as I came to call them, luxury affairs for people who want to cheat but need an excuse to be out of town. I found his name on a website. Long scroll, pastel colors, pictures of sunsets, and people holding hands by waterfalls. The testimonials were suspiciously vague. Changed my life. I've never felt more seen. Worth every dollar and every secret. One of them had Monica's initials. MP, from Chicago. Underneath, a 5-star rating and a quote. He reminded me I was still desirable. Still alive. I didn't know whether to laugh or vomit. But I did know I had a new objective. So I signed up for one of his retreats. Used a fake name. Created a burner email. Posed as a grieving recent divorce who wanted to rediscover his masculine energy. It was a 5-day event in Arizona. Desert villas. Cold-pressed juices. Guided breathing sessions led by a guy who looked like he'd modeled for protein shakes in the early 2000s. And Dima? He was smoother in person. Good posture. Man bun. That effortless charm that makes women lower their guard and makes men wonder if they should hit him or hire him. He didn't recognize me. I'd never met him face to face. I was just another sad soul looking for meaning in a yoga pose. The week unfolded like a script. Morning meditations. Group sessions. Fireside confessions where everyone cried about high school trauma and exes who didn't understand their need to evolve. It was all very spiritual. Until night 3. That's when I saw it happen. One of the female participants, a woman maybe 5 years younger than Monica, followed Dima into his private cabin after dinner. She didn't come back out until morning. And when she did, she looked like she'd just returned from a honeymoon. Her wedding ring was gone. I waited until the final day. We were seated in a circle. Dima was closing out the retreat with some speech about self-actualization and trusting your deeper instincts. Everyone nodded like he was the Dalai Lama in Lululemon. When he opened the floor for final thoughts, I raised my hand. He smiled. "Go ahead, brother." I stood up slowly. Calm. Collected. Like a man about to change the weather. "I just wanted to say thank you, Dima. You've shown me a lot this week." He nodded, clearly pleased with himself. "That's what this space is about." I kept going. "I came here thinking I'd lost everything. But now I realize I just lost one thing. The illusion." A few people looked confused. One woman actually clapped. "And I have you to thank for that. Because until this week, I didn't realize how many women you've helped feel alive again." Dima's smile dimmed. Thanks. Let's try to keep this circle judgment-free, yeah?" I stepped closer. Not threatening. Just present. "Oh, I'm not judging. I'm applauding. You're a busy man. Especially when you're helping women like Monica P. rediscover their divine femininity while their husbands are back home fixing the dishwasher. His face froze. The room went dead silent. I turned to the group. Did you all know Dima accepts return clients? Some of them don't even sign up under their own names. I pulled a folded printout from my back pocket. Her testimonial. Her initials. Recognize this, Dima? He didn't respond. I kept going. Just curious. How many marriages do you think your retreats have enhanced? Now some of the other guests looked at him differently. One man actually leaned forward. Wait, he said. My wife came to one of these last year. Dima tried to recover. Look, man, I don't know what you think you're doing. What I'm doing, I interrupted, is giving you a chance to return yourself to sender. I walked out before he could respond. Didn't need applause. Didn't need vindication. I got what I came for. Not revenge. Verification. Back home, I compiled the last piece of the puzzle. I sent Monica a message. Just one. I met your yoga guru. He sends his best. Especially to your friend from Michigan. And Arizona. And Utah. Might want to check the testimonials. She didn't reply. She probably knew better by now. Or maybe she was still in denial. Curled up with some self-help podcast telling her, you are not your mistakes. Which is a nice thought, unless your mistakes have names and timestamps and 5-star Yelp reviews. A week later, I got a package in the mail. No return address. Inside, one item. That same cream-colored postcard. Only now, the words were crossed out with red ink. And underneath, scrawled in Monica's handwriting, you win. I didn't smile. Because this wasn't about winning. This was about removing the mask. Hers. His. And finally mine. The bedroom was the last to go. Funny, isn't it? You can delete photos, sell the car, even get your name scratched off the wedding registry. But the bedroom, that's where the ghost lingers. Where memory has muscle memory. Where a pillow still holds the shape of someone who used to be there and now isn't. So I started with the dresser. Her side. Gone were the lotions I wasn't allowed to touch. The jewelry boxes with tangled stories inside. The drawer full of pajama sets I never once saw her wear. I cleaned it out like a crime scene. Wiped it down like I was disinfecting grief. I kept exactly one thing. A single bobby pin. Not out of sentiment. Out of spite. A reminder that she once left things behind like she planned to return. She won't. The house echoed. Not with sadness. No violin soundtrack here. Just space. Honest space. The kind you don't have to explain to anybody. The kind that doesn't flinch when the front door opens unexpectedly. That week, I repainted the walls. Covered up this sea foam tranquility she picked out from a magazine that probably told her how to fix a marriage without talking about it. I painted it matte gray. Simple. Quiet. Grown up. Like me now. One night, I found myself in front of the bathroom mirror. Not the metaphorical kind. The real one. The mirror that used to reflect the two of us brushing our teeth in silence. Her humming. Me rinsing. Neither of us speaking unless someone forgot to buy more floss. Now it was just me. And I looked different. Older? A bit. Tired? Sure. But sharper. Like I'd been carved into something better by the very blade meant to cut me down. I leaned in and asked myself something. What now? Not what next. That's too hopeful. What now is grounded. Present. It's the question you ask when you're finally free and afraid of what that freedom actually costs. I didn't have an answer yet. But the silence didn't scare me this time. 2 months after the divorce papers cleared, I got a wedding invitation in the mail. Not from Monica. She wouldn't dare. No, this was from Dima. Yeah, Dima. It wasn't a prank. It was real. Gold-trimmed, embossed lettering, RSVP card included. He was marrying a woman from the Arizona retreat. One of the awakened ones. I stared at the envelope for a solid minute, debating whether to burn it or frame it. Instead, I mailed back the RSVP. Unchecked, accepts with pleasure. Unchecked, declines with regret. And wrote in the blank space. Return to sender. Revenge is a dish best served cold? Nah. Revenge is a dish best served silent. With linen napkins. At a table you built yourself. I didn't hack her accounts. I didn't expose Dima to the media. I didn't take the house, even though the lawyers said I could. Instead, I did something worse. I flourished. I rebuilt my life. New city. New job. Better pay. Less noise. More space. I started writing, not about her, but about me. My version of the story. The man who didn't shatter when he was betrayed. The man who watched his wife try to sink him with her own leaking ship and simply stepped onto a lifeboat of his own design. The story found readers. And then it found her. Because one morning, I got an email. No subject line. Just a name. Monica. The message? I read your story. I hate how accurate it is. I wish you didn't make me the villain. I didn't respond. You don't respond to ghosts. You let them haunt their own houses. And I'm in a new one now. No secrets in the walls. No postcards in the drawers. Just a clean desk, a quiet mind, and one bobby pin I keep in a little glass jar on a shelf, labeled clearly. Exhibit A. Because in the end, I didn't get even. I got free. And she got to keep the story, just not the ending.